Good evening, my merry mischief makers, and welcome back to the best part of your week. It's new episode day here on Monsters Among Us Junior, and I, Delaney Bowers, along with my seasoned co-host, Derek Hayes, have an absolute banger of an episode lined up for you tonight. But first, I'd like to show off my newly purchased cabinet of curiosities. You know, that piece of furniture every normal human being has in their underground workshop? Okay, behind this door you'll find a taxidermied two-headed snake with just one eyeball. And in this drawer is a horn grown from a human forehead. Seashells, precious gemstones, watches, whistles, and an ancient grimoire are all tucked away in their tiny cubbies. And here to help us add a few more oddities to our collection are Barnes and Sarah from Michigan.
Hi, my name is Barnes, and I'm here with one of my best friends, Sarah. So Sarah and we were camping somewhere in Michigan, and we were at this campground, and my dad, he recently told me a story back when he was younger about how, the campground got possessed or something.
And there was, a priest that came to get the spirits away, and it didn't work.
Yeah. But we didn't know this at this time. So me, Sarah, and one of our other friends, let's call him Aaron, we were camping there, and we decided to go into the woods. And we found this stick, and we weirdly got attached to it.
And there was a feather on the end that fit perfectly, and we just found it.
So we thought this feather was the only thing keeping us safe. So we got hurt.
In the exact same order. So it was Aaron, me, Sarah, then Barnes.
Yeah, and it was really weird.
This is when we couldn't find the feather.
Yeah, so we lost the feather at this point. But before this, we were hiking around with the feather. And then at one point we went into the woods it was 12 a.m. Mm-hmm. And it was obviously really dark out. And then we kept on getting hurt in the order again, tripping or falling or
And then me and Aaron kept on hearing whispers.
Of what were, inaudible.
It was telling us to, go.
And then Aaron and I don't know if you saw it, Sarah, but Aaron and I saw this man with I'm not even kidding, it was a fedora on. He was just sitting there, against a tree, 30 yards away from us. And, we were screaming, and did you see anything?
I didn't see that, but I wasn't looking at that either.
Yeah. And then it smelled like something was burning.
Yes, but, not fire.
It wasn't a campfire. It was, something was burning.
Then we went in the next morning, and everything was completely fine, and we still know where the sticks are.
Yeah,
and we're kind of afraid that the feather's lost.
Yeah, and then Aaron, he has, branched away from us. And if you don't know, Aaron was, he was, a big guy. So,
intimidating.
Yeah, so if we do go, and we're, two people, we're not the most intimidating. So that's going to be very scary if we do decide to go back there.
Yeah, because we're, I'm 5'1".
And I'm, 5'5". That's
neither of those are intimidating when you're, you look like a stick. You're built like a stick.
Yeah.
I'm built like a stick.
Yeah. And especially if it's a man,
Your description was he was tall, correct?
Yeah, he was tall, but skinny. And it wasn't Slenderman. It was something really sus,
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's a story coming from Barnes and Sarah. Bye.
Well, that was a roller coaster. I think Barnes and Sarah squeezed in as many scary stories into 3 minutes as humanly possible, and for that, I applaud them. And although I wasn't able to find the precise location of the possessed campground, I did happen to come across a number of other creepy campsites across the Mitten State. Like Camp Roger in Rockford, Michigan, which is said to be haunted by the ghost of a young, perhaps overly confident camper who drowned as he was swimming across Lake Pickerel. The legend says that his apparition chases after anyone near the water, and sometimes he'll even threaten to push them in. Then there's the story of Sam, whose spirit lingers around Cabin 13 at Bay Cliff Health Camp. Sam was said to have been a quiet and shy camper who loved arts and crafts. After meeting an unfortunate demise, Sam's ghost is said to turn paintings upside down and even knock them off the wall entirely. And I still haven't even covered Minnie Quay, who roams the beaches of Sanilac County Park's campgrounds, the gravestone of A.J. Michalowski at Ossineek State Forest Campsite number 15, or the father and son whose shadows scare visitors at Camp Hiawatha in the UP. With all that in mind, just be sure to zip your tent up tight the next time you head out into the woods. Thanks again for the call, friends. Our next call comes to us from another Michigander, pal of the show, Max.
Hi, I'm Max, a 9-year-old who wants to know everything that's happening at all times, that has lived in Michigan their entire life, in Ann Arbor. So, I have 2 stories I want to tell you. Here it goes. The first story happened recently. So, I was in my mom's room with my dog Rudy, and all of a sudden I hear a very loud, deep breath in my ear and footsteps coming to the room. That was the first story. It's quite short, but crazy. So, the next one is crazy, so get ready. I was 5 years old and a pale white figure walked through my door. I was just standing in my room. I do not have sleep paralysis because I could move the covers up to my head and move in general. And I was so frightened I could not say anything, and I was so scared that no one would believe me. And it had a black cloak on and a long forehead. And then a boy in a ninja costume would come in sometimes, and a girl in a ninja costume would also come in sometimes. And one time, the boy went in my room and picked me up and took me into my mom's room. And at that point, I did not say anything. And the last night they ever came is they all went in my room, and they were in my room for 5 minutes, and then they just left. And I'm just like, what the hell just happened? And that's all my stories. I hope you can use them. I love your podcast. I hope I can find some new stories to tell you. Bye.
Congratulations, Max. I think this is the first time I've ever heard of a ninja ghost, and I don't think I'll be forgetting about it anytime soon. It also sounds as if your house is, haunted. Disembodied footsteps and cloaked phantoms are a pretty good indicator of that. But Max, your house isn't the only one in Ann Arbor besieged by ghosts. According to an article published in the Ann Arbor News, a home in nearby Dixboro, Michigan, is the site of one of Washtenaw County's most infamous spirits. Back in 1845, local carpenter Isaac Van Wert was visited by the ghost of Martha Mulholland more than 9 times in his house off Plymouth Road. Martha, who lived in the house previously, told Van Wert that her brother-in-law John had poisoned her only a few weeks prior. Van Wert was so frightened that he shared his story with a town official who immediately ordered Martha's body to be exhumed from her grave. An autopsy proved that Martha had indeed been murdered by her relative. John quickly fled town to avoid arrest, and Martha's ghost was never seen in the house again. So the next time you see those ninja ghosts, or that robed figure with a 5 head, just ask if they have any secrets that they'd like to share. Thanks again, Max.
Operations into reality today.
Yeah, podcast will be up. How cool is
This shows up to your door with multiple cash offers already in hand.
Now I have to see a man about a Fiji mermaid. So here to do his best podcaster impression is Derek Hayes.
Thank you, Delaney, for that unusual introduction. And howdy, listeners. I hope that your Meemaw hasn't frightened you too badly here this evening, because I have a couple of calls that might make your skin crawl. Like Matt's entry, out of South Dakota.
Hey there, this is Max. I'm from Crook, South Dakota. When we were duck hunting, we were sitting down before first shot, where we could take our first shot at something, and we were looking up in the sky, and we look up, there's a bunch of shooting stars, and we see one start moving, and we think, oh, that's another shooting star, but instead, it was 3, white orbs, no blinking at all. It made no sound, and they were doing sharp, diagonal turns. It'd stop really quick, then go at a different angle. And we thought at first it was just one, and then a stationary star started doing it, and then another one started doing it. And they were making almost like a pattern in the sky. At first we thought it was just another shooting star because we've been seeing a lot. So that kind of freaked us out after a while. And that's my call for what I think is a UFO. Thank you for the show. I love your show. Keep up what you're doing.
Thank you, Matt, for calling in. Now, it sounds like a UFO to me as well. And not only does the description of orbs or dots match up with several other UFO sightings we've received over the years, but the movement of what our caller witnessed suggests something beyond our technology as well. Because that's not how our planes, jets, and helicopters move. They can't stop suddenly and then change direction as quickly as Matt had described. In fact, the gravitational forces generated by the movements that Matt described would most likely kill any human pilot or passenger. The forces are just too strong. Which makes whatever Matt saw pretty incredible and very unidentified. So thank you again, Matt, for calling in. Now, before I push play on this final entry, if you have a story you would like to share here on Monsters Among Us Junior, here is what you do. Get your parent or guardian's permission first, then dial 833-MAU-KIDS. That's 833-MAU-KIDS. Leave a 2-minute or less story, a true story, and make sure you speak up loudly and clearly. So if you've seen an alien, a cryptid, a UFO, or maybe even a ghost, we want to hear from you. 833-MAU-KIDS. Now, our next entry and final guest of the evening has a ghost story to share with us. From the Lone Star State of Texas, please welcome Reese back to the program.
Hi, Derek. My name is Reese, and I am a kid, 14 years old, from Texas, and I love your podcast. It's amazing. I listen to it every day, but I'd like to report a sighting. This one happened to my mom as a kid, and my whole family, my grandparents and my aunt, and my mom as a kid. So we lived in a house in Texas, in Hanley, near General Worth's bunker in Fort Worth. Well, our house was very haunted, and honestly, you got used to it eventually. But the weird thing is, there was a man that would walk around our house. When my mom told me this, I had shivers. It was very, very spooky. But there would be a man that would walk through our house, and we knew he wasn't real. We could see right through him. Well, I couldn't. I've never seen him before. But you could see right through him, as I was told. He walked around with a little girl, and that little girl looked familiar. It was just like my aunt when she was a kid. Well, my aunt was scared because he would stand at the end of her bed in her room and just stare at her. So what my grandpa did is he sent her in there to stay with my mom and my grandma, and my aunt went in there with my grandma and my mom and slept in there. And my grandpa went to her room and slept in there. This is a big dude. He's 220 pounds, maybe more, and he was 6'10". So when he was sitting in there, he had the TV, and he was just about to turn it off. All of a sudden, the man shows up out of nowhere and was staring there. And my grandpa is talking to him. Don't know why he did, but he did. And he goes, "You need to leave my house. You're scaring my daughters." And all of a sudden, my grandpa told me that he had this expression of pure hatred and anger. And he pushed the bed against the wall and left a dent in the sheetrock. And my grandpa, being grown up and huge, peed himself. It's kind of funny, though. But yeah, love the podcast. I share it to a lot of friends of mine that are interested in the paranormal. But yeah, thank you for this chance, and I really hope this helps in your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese. The ghost made your grandpa wet his britches. That's always a good sign that tells me whatever he saw, he thought it was real. And maybe it was. Now, Fort Worth, Texas has a rough and tumble history, which can lead to all kinds of modern-day ghost stories. So none of this surprises me at all, Reese. But I am happy that you shared your experience here with us. So thank you again for calling in. Now, Monsters Among Us Jr. is written and produced by Derek Hayes and Delaney Bowers. Copyright Red Crow Media. Additional support was provided by Sarah Carter Hayes. Now, tonight's score was provided by Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse, Co.ag Music, and Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. And lastly, the Monsters Among Us Jr. theme was written and produced by Ali Mamarian. So thank you for tuning in and for dropping in. And don't forget to call us with your story, 833-MAU-KIDS. And don't forget to visit us back here next Wednesday for a brand new episode. Until then, mind the shadows, keep it spooky, and have a good night.